Good evening, everyone. In a few minutes, we will begin the opening session of the Southeast Asia Sustainability Festival 2022. On behalf of the committee, I would like to thank you all for attending the opening session this evening. Now, before we begin, I would like to remind you of a few arrangements for tonight's event. All participants may mute the microphone. Whenever possible, please turn on your camera. You use the virtual background we provide. Please kindly set your name on your Zoom with the format of country_name. Please fill in the Google Form attendance list provided in the chat box. Please note that only volunteers who fill the attendance list and attend till the end of the opening session will receive 100 points. And if you have any questions for our speakers, please type them in the chat box during the Q&A session. We would be delighted if you share your experience during the opening session and take us on your Instagram story. Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, the honorable speakers, moderators, volunteers, and promoters. It is an honor for me, Annisa Ananda, to serve as your host for this opening session of the Southeast Asia Sustainability Festival 2022. And for our first agenda for tonight's event, I would like to highlight the reason why we are conducting this event. Southeast Asia Sustainability Festival 2022 is a good moment to exchange experiences and knowledge from youth-led movements around the world, supported by YSEALI, Culture Vistas, U.S. Embassy Philippines. This event aimed to achieve sustainable development goals with evidence-based and good governance of multiple regional actors around the globe. This SEASF will provide you with new knowledge from diverse viewpoints about the nexus of thriving societies, prosperous economy, healthy environment, partnership for the goals, and individual empowerment. By taking part in SEASF, you will witness and be the young change makers with a direct impact in making a huge change in the society. The honorable speakers, moderators, volunteers, and promoters, now we will witness two welcome remarks from the coordinator of SEASF volunteers. So let us welcome Ms. Ifah Atka.
Greetings, youth speakers, volunteers, ladies and gentlemen. I would like to thank you every one of you for being here with us today. We are very pleased to welcome you to Southeast Asia Sustainability Festival 2022. Today is the first day of our festival. Before we get started, I would like to express my sincere appreciation to all of you who generously help us make this event come together to become a success. The speaker, Mr. Biondi Sanda Sima, the moderator, Ms. Christinebelle Heng, the master of ceremony, Ms. Annisa Ananda Sari, our opening session coordinator and also the second speaker, Mr. Aldi Fauzan Akbar, the organization partners, and all the volunteers. We could not have done it without you. The Southeast Asia Sustainability Festival 2022 is formed as a one-month program to share good practices and a platform of action in an effort to achieve Sustainable Development Goals (SDGs), based on evidence-based and good governance of multiple actors in the region. The 17 SDGs can be grouped by 4 themes are the basis of the Southeast Asia Sustainability Festival program. First, thriving societies. Second, prosperous economy. Third, healthy environment. And the fourth one, partnership for the goals. This festival consists of 5 sessions and 3 challenges according to the theme. And each session consists of 2 speakers according to the SDGs theme and 1 moderator. At the end of the Southeast Asia Sustainability Festival, the 12 most outstanding volunteers will be selected to get an award in the form of an certificate and a total grant of up to $300. Ladies and gentlemen, I don't want to take much of your time, so I will give a warm welcome to you from the deepest of our hearts. Do enjoy the festival. Please ask to the chat box during the presentation and do the challenge happily. Thank you. Thank you very much for your sincere attention.
Thank you very much, Ms. Ifa Atka, as the Coordinator of Volunteers, SEASF 2022, who has delivered the opening remarks for this opening session. So, distinguished guest speakers, volunteers, and promoters, we will move forward to the main session. There will be 2 speakers for tonight's opening session. Biondi Sanda Sima, the founder of Palu Produktif, and Aldi Fauzan Akbar, co-founder of YSEALI. But first, let me introduce you to the moderator in charge tonight, Ms. Christinebelle Heng. Christinebelle Heng is from Cambodia and holds a bachelor's degree in TAFL from Royal University of Phnom Penh. Belle also creates and conducts online courses from Arizona State University. She is a co-founder of Cascade Project, an initiative supported by YSEALI, Culture Vistas, and the U.S. Embassy, Philippines, and Indonesia. The program has supported social activists and change drivers in Indonesia to create change through knowledge sharing and digital campaign optimization. As a YSEALI alumnus, Belle has empowered and engaged youth through delivery of civic education that aims to promote good governance and lifelong learning. Now, let me hand over tonight's session to the moderator. Let us welcome Ms. Christinebelle Heng.
Thank you so much, Anita and Ifa. Greeting, good day, and good evening to the honorable speakers, Young Southeast Asia Organizing Committee, and wonderful audience. First of all, I would like to welcome you all to the opening session of the Southeast Asia Sustainability Festival, which is SEASF 2022, organized by Young Southeast Asia. We do hope everyone is here in a healthy condition. My name is Christinebelle Heng from Cambodia, and tonight I will serve you as the moderator of the opening session of SEASF with a focus on SEASF Challenge Explanation, Youth and SDGs. The Southeast Asia Sustainability Festival, SEASF 2022, is a 1-month program to share good practices and a platform of action to achieve Sustainable Development Goals, SDGs, based on evidence-based and good governance of multiple regional actors. Supported by YSEALI, Cultural Vistas, U.S. Embassy, Philippines, the Southeast Asia Sustainability Festival consists of 5 sessions and 3 challenges. Each session consists of 2 speakers according to SDGs themes and 1 moderator. And today it's our opening session. So now I'd like to start off today's webinar. We would like to introduce you our first speaker by Biondi Sanda Sima from Indonesia. He is a World Bank digital government consultant and also founder of Palu Produktif. Biondi's passion is to espouse digital development, diplomacy, and to leverage them to narrow inequality, empower youth. He is currently working with the World Bank on digital government and digital identity programs. Biondi also lectures international relations at Hasanuddin University and chairing the digital transformation track at the Y20 Summit, a G20 official engagement group for youth. Born and raised in Palu, Biondi gives back by founding a platform to improve local talents' competitiveness and productivity at Palu Produktif. During the pandemic, Biondi led the implementation of an end-to-end digital system to help manage the pandemic through the West Java Digital Service. His team also rolled out the Digital Village program that helped expand connectivity and exposed villages to harness the benefit of the digital economy. He also holds double masters in economic policy and sustainable development from Sciences Po, Paris, and Peking University in Beijing. His work has earned national and international recognitions, including Best Team Under 35 by Gulf Insider, IMF World Bank Young CSO Fellow, Open Government Young Ambassador at UKP4, Indonesia's G20 Youth, Best Eco Presenter, Hilo Green Leader 2015, and also Most Inspiring Movement at the New Element of the Year 2022. Once again, there will be a question and answer session after each speaker has done their presentation. So dear participants, you may want to prepare your questions and send it to the chat box once we open the Q&A session. So now, Biondi, the time is yours. Thank you.
All right. Thank you so much for that very generous introduction, Christine, and everyone who's helping organizing this event. I think we have such an international audience tonight. So very grateful, and I'm very honored to be able to be one of the opening speakers for this festival. And I think I no longer need to introduce myself because Christine has done such a wonderful job doing that. So let me directly share my screen and allow me to present to you some of the introductory landscape for the Sustainable Development Goals. So pretty much, I think because we're already in the middle, like we're already halfway in the attainment of SDGs, I'm pretty sure that a lot of us are already exposed to the information about Sustainable Development Goals. So I would also want to know from your side the kind of specific SDGs that you are passionate about, and if there's any concern that you have on your side that can trigger some of our thoughts moving forward, because we are going to do a lot of more deep dive in the sessions after this. So I'm hoping that we can, also hear from your side the kind of concerns that you have when it comes to Sustainable Development Goals. But for those who have not heard about SDGs in detail, so let me serve as part of the introductory session for everyone so that we can have a similar starting point moving forward. So SDGs have these 17 goals that allows us as a global society to move forward and have shared goals in terms of sustainability. There are 17 in total, from no poverty to partnership for the goals. But the origin of SDG was actually far behind the year that was created in 2015. So before SDGs in 2015, we also have what we called as Millennium Development Goals. That was also created in the UN HQ in New York City in 2010. And then after 15 years, pretty much the goal is focused on how to reduce extreme poverty. And according to the indicators that we have back in the day, we were maybe not like fully, but partially able to accomplish Millennium Development Goals. But the attainment of reducing extreme poverty in itself is not enough, because we see there are a lot of other problems that emerge as part of promoting economic growth globally. So when a country grows economically, sometimes the economic pie is not enjoyed by all levels of society. Sometimes there's only like a certain levels of individuals who are able to enjoy that economic growth. So the main important part of the SDG is to really evolve MDGs so that it does not only focus on economic growth and how to ensure that there is no extreme poverty, but also to ensure that inequality are being fought, and that externality of the economic growth, especially to the planet and its environmental consequences, are also taken into account. Because a lot of these economic growth, and even until today, right, the GDP as part of the major economic indicator does not necessarily accounting for the externality that these growth pose when it comes to the environmental consequences. So SDGs, in a sense, really expand from MDG, but in a way that is more progressive, because it also accounts for reducing extreme poverty, and not only extreme poverty, but also all types of poverty, but as well as social inequality and climate change. But it's also not enough to only look at these 17 goals. You also need to look at the specific targets and the indicators that comes with each of these goals. So if you look at the website on the Sustainable Development Goals provided in the UN website, you would be able to identify there are 169 specific targets in total, and there are 232 indicators. So if you look at these goals, I would also suggest that you switch to the other tab where you can look at the breakdown of how these goals are defined through the targets and how we can measure the progress that we have in each of the goals. So, and there are also another way to try to understand the SDGs. But before we move on to this, I just want to say that the SDGs are pretty much interconnected to one another. One attainment in one SDG would usually also help promote the attainment in the other SDGs. For example, if we talked about the attainment of no poverty, it would also be related to quality education. It would also be related to goal number 10 in reducing inequality, and so on and so forth. So if you have a certain project that you think can help promote the attainment of SDGs, think about these SDGs not as a standalone goal in itself, but as an interconnected goals that can, support one another. But there is this one framework that helps us, categorize these 17 goals into 3 major nexus. But there are also debates around how we can categorize this. But this is only one of the ways. But there are different ways to help us categorize this as well. So in terms of the pinnacle of this pyramid is that everyone has to work together, right? When it comes to SDGs and the attainment of sustainable development goals, it's not enough to only, for example, Pakistan or Myanmar or Cambodia to do it in itself, but it has to come from an international cooperation. So the 17th is at the pinnacle of this pyramid, and there is a layer of economy related still to economic growth, but also there is another layer for social inclusion to ensure that when the economy is growing, everyone can still be benefited from this growth. And of course, there is a large part of it that also contributes to the environmental sustainability. So those are like pretty much the 3 Ps: people, planet, and profit kind of interaction. Now, the thing about sustainable development goals progress that we have at the moment, pretty much the COVID-19 has reversed the progress that we have throughout the years. I have this short video and I'm hoping that the audio is audible for everyone. This would shows where we are at the moment. You can also download the SDGs report. The UN issue this report every year, but pretty much as we've already known, there are multiple intersectional crises and cascading crises happening because of the pandemic, as well as the war and other things that makes the attainment of SDGs are not only halted, but also reversed. So I think that's exactly why an event like this, where youth are gathered and talked about SDGs more intensively, especially now because we are slowly recovering from COVID-19, is more important than ever, because we need to get back on track, right? So, but before we can get back on track, we need to know where we are, and we need to know how much losses do we suffer from the 2 years, even more than 2 years pandemic that we all share as a common experience at the moment. to stop it right there. It felt a little bit longer than I thought. But what I really want to emphasize through that video is that apparently we are in a not very good situation at the moment. I think the complete statistics, you can come back to that again. I put the link already on the slide, and we can I can share these link as well on the chat box afterwards. But the picture is quite grim at the moment. But I wanted to encourage you is that although it's a little bit like a dark situation, I also want to encourage that usually an attainment of global stat like this also strongly comes from the power of community. And the fact that SDGs were also very consultative in nature, it's one of the historically largest consultative global goals that has ever been done in the world. And the process to actually create the 17 goals took in about 3 years, and it involves more than 7 million people and in more than 84 national surveys. I think these sort of tells us that SDGs come from the agreement of the global communities, and I think the attainment of global goals and the SDGs can also be possible when we are united. And I'm very happy that we all come from a very diverse background tonight and sort of realizing this situation, and hopefully together there would be more collaboration happening to help us achieve SDGs together. Now, moving on, I also wanted to emphasize why the SDGs matter, right? So 3 arguments that I always put it at the back of my mind is that number one, SDGs serve as a shared language. In order for the global community to overcome the challenges and the intricate challenges, a lot of these challenges are very complex and they are interrelated from one country to the other. It's important for us to achieve a transformation with a common language, and SDGs serve exactly that. We are now able to refer to the same goals and are able to move towards a similar vision, because different countries with different resources might be able to put these resources into like different kinds of activities. So SDGs sort of unite these effort and serve as that common language for us to know where to head to as a community. Number 2, SDGs is not only for countries. SDGs are not only an expectation that are given to the governments, but this is something that can be practiced by communities, by corporates, by individuals even. And to realize that SDGs can also be trickled down to something that we can do in a daily basis also helps break down barriers. And we also hope that SDGs can become a common experience, just like the COVID-19, that everyone knows about SDGs and everyone sort of wanting to contribute to that, however marginal that can be. But only when this sense of unity is present, then we can also move towards that shared goals. And lastly, SDGs also emphasize that no one is left behind. So pretty much the vision is to involve everyone, and that when we promote growth, everyone can also enjoy the benefit of this economic growth. Now, before I end this presentation, I also want to give a sample project that we have. So prior to working for the World Bank, I was working for a subnational government in West Java province. So this is one of the largest provinces in Indonesia with more than 50 million people. And with the presence of the new governor, he created what we now call as Jabar Digital Service, so digital service for West Java. So West Java is also predominantly rural, and I think it's also relevant with the leaving no one behind kind of narrative that the team and that the government wants to have in the first place. So the goals that we're trying to implement in Jabar Digital Service is that we want to address at least 3 of these goals. We want to improve decent work and economic growth. We also want to ensure there is a sense of reduced inequalities, because as I've said, the province is predominantly rural, but we also want to improve access to digital technology, and this also is related to sustainable cities and communities. Pretty much the the team is divided into several groups, and we have hundreds of programs that we roll out within just a few years. But one of the most significant one, other than the COVID-19 pandemic management, is also what we call as Digital Village. And there are 3 layers to this initiative. We, first of all, trying to address areas that are still blank spots, areas that don't have internet connectivity. And we provide them with a very small aperture terminal so that even people who live in rural areas can also access the internet. And it matters pretty much because a lot of like digital economy and commerce now happens on the internet. And with the presence of connectivity, they can also expand their market penetration. But not only that, we also wanted to improve their literacy, as well as really making sure that they adopt the latest technology integrated to their economic activities, because different village would have like different commodity and different economic activities. So we sort of custom tailor the initiative to the economic activities that they have. So one of the biggest pitfalls that I see when it comes to government initiative, they usually roll out like similar problem to every circumstances. So they usually have this one pill for all kind of program, which would eventually be a mismatch between problem and solution situation. So when it comes to intervening or designing a program, we really need to empathize and look and zooming in the communities that we are intervening and what are their strength and weakness, and really design the program that suits their circumstances. And I hope that this can also be a takeaway for everyone listening. And if there's just one thing that you can take away from this talk, is that to really empathize and look at the communities where you're working at. Never assume that an intervention that works in one village or in one area can also automatically work in other areas. You always have to custom your solution to the context and to the circumstances that that specific community has. I have another video here, but I think we're running out of time, but I can pass on this deck to the committee and they can distribute it, just to sort of show how we employ the Sustainable Development Goals in a tailored solution in the village level. So they can also benefit from something that is quite advanced. For example, like the use of Internet of Things or IoT in their specific economic activities in their specific village. Now, now moving on to the end of this presentation, I still have 2 more points to deliver. Number 1 is that, as I've already mentioned, to be able to attain Sustainable Development Goals, we need to unite as a global community, right? But of course, in many circumstances, the government is strategically positioned to mobilize resources so that they can ensure that the fiscal allocation is targeted into the attainment of SDGs. And for us to actually come to that realization and put a pressure to the government, we also need to empathize with our government just as much as we empathize to the beneficiary of our community intervention. We also need to empathize to how the government create their policy or make their policy. So there are 2 slides here that I want you to also understand, is that number 1, policymaking is very complex and intricate by nature. Even though you think that the president, for example, or whomever else in charge is already on your side, as in they're already aware of the SDGs and they're willing to put money into the programs that would contribute directly to the attainment of SDGs, it wouldn't always translate into a workable policy. Because, for example, here the executive government would still have to, have that tit for tat kind of situation with legislator, for example, and also with the public awareness, because if the public isn't quite aware of this issue, then there wouldn't be there won't be enough pressure for the decision makers to roll out such program. And these are also interacting with a lot of other networks of interest from the private sectors, from the policy analysts, from the advocates and lobbyists. So in order for us to pressure for a good governance kind of policy making, we need to understand that it's always complex. There's always like a network of interests, and we need to essentially be present in all of these networks so that there is a common language shared by different stakeholders as well. I see somebody is trying to be creative and draw and add more webs to the to the chart, which is probably the case in real life. But let's move on to the last one thing that I want you to understand is that for a policy to work, usually there are three criteria needed, right? Three elements are needed. Number one is that you need legitimacy and support from the highest level decision makers kind of level, right? So if you want, for example, to create a program for reduced inequality in a certain village, maybe if you already know how to technically do it, but you don't get the support or the political support, or maybe not so political support by the leaders, it might become more challenging if you don't have that executive support coming to that program. But legitimacy and support is not the only thing. I think it's sort of the gateway to the program, but you also need two other things. You would need operational capacity to really ensure that the program can run well, and this includes the capacity of the human resource who are executing the program, the infrastructure that are already in place, the regulatory framework that would support that program to be sustained over time, et cetera, et cetera. And the last part is that you also need to ensure that the program has positive net value for the people. So it has public support that are behind your program. So if you have public support in a way that it's popular enough, we can also discuss about this, whether you need that level of virality for a program to be successful, but essentially you need public support for that program to be viable. And then you also need operational capacity to ensure that these programs can be executed. And you definitely need to have support and legitimacy from the higher level policymakers. With that, I would like to end it here and pose some trigger questions for you, just for us to discuss in the Q&A or moving forward as well, as we also deep dive into these specific goals. Think about which SDGs are you most concerned about. And when you think about these SDGs, as I've mentioned before, you cannot treat them as a standalone goals. Usually they would be interconnected. Expand your framework, as in previously, if you're only thinking about one goal, try to force yourself a little bit more and see how this one goal can also support the attainment of other goals that are relevant to your main concern. And number two is that if you haven't really thought about this, think about how your current advocacy or the advocacy that you're about to do in the future can directly contribute to the attainment of these goals. And to help you do this, as I've mentioned, it's not enough to stop at reading about these goals, but to really look at the targets and indicators that the United Nations has already defined as per each goal. So if you understand the specific targets and indicators, you would also be able to tailor your program to directly contribute to the achievement of these indicators. Especially the indicators are all like measurable. They all have like specific numbers already set as a target, and that would really help you understand how your program can directly contribute to the attainment of these targets. I think I would stop there, and hopefully I don't run over time, and I'll give it back to the moderator.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Biondi. Very insightful presentation right here. And of course, it's time for us to, leave our questions into the chat box if you do have the questions to clarify any points that Biondi mentioned. I do see that a lot of our participants, share quite similar SDGs, sustainable development goals, such as like gender equality, justice and peace, quality education, as well as economic growth, and many more. So they do know what they stand for, so they can work on it. So I believe I would like to get started with the first question that we have from our audience here, Biondi. So if you could clarify a little bit about the main challenges, which is about what can be the main challenges in adopting the latest technology, but on a community level, and as well as on the ASEAN community level. Between the two, what could be the main challenges?
Right. I'm trying to locate the question because there are a lot of in the chat box, but just from listening to that, when it comes to latest technology, usually the framework that we're using are people, process, and the technology in itself. So when we talked about technology, sometimes the most difficult part is to increase the literacy of the people. So to ensure that people can adopt that and understand how to use them and how to benefit from them, that's usually the most challenging part, especially in Indonesia, where the level of inequality is still unfortunately quite high. So people who live in rural areas don't have the same access to quality education. And when it comes to even the simplest form of technology, they would need a repetitive intervention, repetitive capacity building. And I think that's also something that we really need to consider. If you want to build the capacity of the community, it's not enough to only have a one-off intervention, but it has to be, we need to be accompanying them throughout the time. And this is why it also matters to empower the young people in that specific community, because they are the ones who live in that context, and they are the one who would be present there, and they would also be able to help, the elderly community, for example, who are perhaps helping decide on things there, but are not very literate when it comes to the latest technology. So really look at the people as one of the biggest criteria that you really need to empower when it comes to technology adoption. The other one is process. Usually, if the technology helps existing business process, people are more receptive towards adopting them. In many cases, new technology does not, they are often felt or considered or seen as an additional burden. So if you have to shift your business as usual from like manual labor to, now using an app to an automated feeding machine, for example, if you don't see the value of this intervention, you would see it as an additional, burden, because you have to learn how to use a new tool, et cetera, et cetera. So really looking at the process of integrating this technology into business as usual, and really ensure that these technology help people, and they help the perception of the people that these would help their businesses and their daily lives, will make their life easier. I think it's also critical for the level of reception, because if they don't see this as something that is helpful and as beneficial, they might not be as receptive again. And of course, the technology, it has to be like secure, and it evolves throughout time as well. So the team would usually need to be agile and need to really adjust to the dynamic of the latest technology as well. A lot of research says that like technological capacity would be obsolete after 6 or 8 months or so. That pretty much says to us that all of us need to adopt a lifelong learning, especially when it comes to technology. We all need to be curious all the time and to learn how to adapt the latest technology almost every time, and hopefully that we're not overwhelmed and see this as a beneficial activity for us to attain what we want.
Excellent, thank you. I do believe you know, our participants can get you know, an insight from this one, the answer. I got another question from Afolayan Gabriel from Nigeria. So thank you for the question. He mentioned about, you know, you mentioned also about, you know, getting people involved, and it's not just about the global effort, but it starts from everyone, and especially, you know, with all of us. So we want to know, how can an individual at the grassroots or local level achieve advocacy and awareness of SDG goals?
Right. Yeah, I think this is very challenging. Raising awareness is easier said than done, as always. And to be able to extend our presence to, I hope no one is sharing funny things at the moment, but to be able to extend our outreach to like the most grassroots community, we cannot rely solely on the government, because the government is usually, you know, have a lot of constraint when it comes to public outreach. So from my experience, it's always beneficial to empower local young communities, because they are the ones who can really extend our message to their respective neighborhoods. In my latest program with one of the civil registry in one of these villages in Sumatra, they have a very nice outreach program where they teach high school students, and they also create a competition among high school students. And they are very, I mean, regardless of whether this is a competition or more like a collaboration, they becomes the agent of change that extend this information to their, you know, respective neighborhoods and communities. And I think it's one of the workable model that can easily be replicated elsewhere. So I think really empowering local youths and educate them, trying to increase their awareness, and to really tell them that this information shouldn't stop at you, but you should be like the extension of this information to, you know, your respective communities, I think really helps expand the snowball effects that can reach out to even more communities. And I think a lot of countries right now have, especially in Indonesian contexts, but I just returned from Saudi Arabia, and they also say the same thing. Their demography is quite young. So really look at the power and capacity of young people. I think it's very critical to improve awareness overall.
Thank you. I do want to remind our participants, if you would like to ask the question, you can drop us your question in the chat box, and I know you do so, or you can either raise your hand so that we will allow you to unmute yourself and ask a question directly to our you know, speaker. You know, I would leave the floor to only 3 more questions. So the next question that I have here is, you know, about the technology, having access to technology. But does that, or will that impact on climate change? If so, how can it be?
Yeah, this is a very tough, but also very critical and important question. I think moving forward, most of the countries would sort of experience what we call a twin transition. And twin transition is usually revolves around technology and sustainability. And most of the time, this twin transition is actually treated as a separate mission, right? Those who are like revolve or professionally work in digital transformation vis-a-vis sustainable and livable planets, they usually have their own trajectory. But what we really want to see moving forward is how these two can connect and integrate, because I think the ability to halt the progress of climate crisis really depends on whether we can invent new technology that can easily be replicated with cost-efficient structure, with sufficient funding, and that can be attained through the invention of new technology. And that would also require a lot of investment in research and development. And so looking at how digital technology that with that I think is also quite more prevalent because of the pandemic. I think one of the very few silver lining that we experience throughout the pandemics that we have that shared experience, and most people are now familiar with the digital technology and how to really bring that or introduce this familiarity into the technology that can help reduce the effects of climate crisis is something that we are yet to see. But the twin transition, I think, would have a permanent implication. Those who are now onboarded and using digital technology would remain doing so. I don't think that they would go back into manual and offline experience, although some research also indicates that. But I think the majority will remain exposed to the digital world. And at the same time, I think more people, especially the Gen Z, there are a lot of surveys that also says the Gen Z is way more aware of the climate crisis compared to the baby boomers. And I think that's also a good thing. But perhaps you don't have enough time to wait until the Gen Z rule the world before we make meaningful progress towards halting climate crisis. So I think these two needs to be integrated. The question would be, how do we do that? And this is something that, I personally don't know, but we definitely need to encourage more research and investment to, looking at the technology and digital technology that can help reverse the effect of climate crisis.
Thank you. So Ashley, I got this question from Justice Chimponda from Malawi. Does the answer help you, Justice? You can unmute yourself a little if you have any follow-up question.
No, I think that's okay. That's what I'm asked. So it's currently answered. Thank you.
Perfect. Thank you so much. And up next, I would like to give the floor to Dimas Havari. You raised your hand, so you can have the floor.
Okay, thank you for the opportunity. We all know that SDG is an intricate problem to solve. What I want to ask is, currently, which country has the best progress towards energy sustainability? What are their programs or innovation? Can it be replicated to other regions or countries? And what are the challenges? I think that's it. Thank you.
All right. Okay, if I may directly answer, this is a very technical question, as in, because I work as a digital government consultant. So my horizon is mostly concentrated in the digital part and in the technology part, but not necessarily in the sustainable development and the climate crisis mitigation part. So I don't have the answer as in which country has the the top of mind progress at the moment. But I think what I can suggest you is that you can look at the 2022 reports that the UN has issued, and specifically in the goal number 13 on climate action, they also highlights some of the projects that has been done in the previous year. So probably that can be an example of best practice, although not necessarily answering whether the country that roll out this program is the best one that have the highest kind of achievement in this track. But at least these best practices can be seen as an example that can be replicated elsewhere. But another note that I want to give you, I know that this doesn't actually answer your question, but if we want to replicate a program, we always need to be careful that it's not a copy paste kind of intervention. It always needs to be adjusted to the local context. I think we've also seen some endeavor in the past where we thought that it worked in Scandinavian countries, for example, and then we bring it home in Indonesia, but apparently it doesn't work as much. So really contextualization and the localization of the solution matters even more, because like in a global context, like different countries would have very diverse circumstances, and I think it matters to take them into account. So diversity and inclusion should also be, you know, taken into consideration, because diversity is given, as in every country is different, and even in one country we can also have a very wide range of diversity, as in the case of Indonesia. So diversity is a fact, but inclusion is a decision that we need to make, whether or not we would want to include like as many types of people into, you know, into the decision-making process, or into consideration when we design that policy. Yeah, so just to be shorter than I already did, is that I don't know which country has that, but I think the recent report has some examples of best practices, and that can be replicated, although we need to be careful about how we replicate it, and needs to consider local context when doing that.
Perfect. I do believe, yeah, this is a very good answer. Thank you so much, Biondi. So the next, I would like to give the floor to Ghana, to Abudi from Ghana. So you may take the floor, and I will take only one more question. So yeah.
Yeah, hello. Thank you for the opportunity. Like you mentioned, my name is Abudi Razak from Ghana. My question is, what do you have to tell us, those of us that are working entirely to achieve these goals, and we face a lot of challenges, I mean, financially, and how to meet the right people that will lead you to where you get the necessary connections? So what motivations, what are the words he's having for us, those of us who are working tirelessly to make these challenges, and we are facing this huge challenge that can even slap you to leave, I mean, to stop. So what motivation do you have for us?
All right. Okay, this is also an excellent question, and I'm very proud of the participants that we have here, such a talented pool of young talents. So if you're asking me what kind of advice can I give to an individual, is that I think the importance of alliance really matters, because sometimes as an individual or a community even, we feel very small against this gigantic mammoth of problem, right? Especially all these crises that are happening in so many countries. It's easy for us to feel dwarfed by the scale of the problem. And in order for us to, you know, increase our ability, is that we need to work together. And these might sound very cliche. I think a lot of us hear this like many times, but I can't stress enough that we cannot work alone. So whatever great and brilliant ideas that you have in mind, that would never make a difference if you only work by yourself. You need to get an alliance. You need to get people on board. And by saying people, that can mean like people from different communities, even working towards the same goals, and, you know, approach your, you know, policymakers and decision makers in your area. Maybe it's not everyone has the same network and has the same capacity to get recognized, but as a young people, I think our power can be proven through our work. So if we've, you know, being able to show that we have a good track record and we have made significant progress, even in a small community, and pitch this to the decision makers and have a like 5-year, 10-year plan as to how we can scale this nationwide or regionally, I think that would attract the attention of our decision makers. But a lot of times, most of us, many young people want the attention of policymakers, but we don't have a concrete solution in our hands, and we don't have concrete problems that we can also offer. So I think there is nothing wrong with complaining, but it gives more value if you are also able to help the policymakers and the decision makers to think about how they can also, you know, untangle the problem and dissolve the problem. And as young people, I think we are more capable than doing that. It's just a matter of whether, number one, we want to work together with other young people or other stakeholders, and number two, get our hands dirty and really, you know, show that we have a good track record that are scalable in the future.
Thank you, Biondi. So I'm gonna take the last question. I'm so sorry, but we almost running out of time. So Josephine, you may have the floor.
Thank you very much. So looking at the continent of Africa in the Council of SEASF, It is a common thing for the masses to suffer from inequalities, that is access to proper education, good state of living environment, and many other social amenities. How best can we as a society make up to give ourselves the better life our leaders are so much denied us?
I have difficulty understand. I think I have a glimpse of what's being
Right.
asked, but we heard quite a lot.
Do you think we need a clarification quickly, Josephine? If you could make it one more time, like quickly, what?
Okay, I said, looking at where I am in the continent of Africa and the country of Sierra Leone, it is a common thing for the masses to suffer from inequalities, that is access to proper education, good state of living environment, and many other social amenities. How best can we as a society make up to give ourselves the better life our leaders are so much denied us?
Wow. Yeah, that's a very important question. And again, I might not have the answer to that. But inequality, I think it is a tangible problem that so many people, be it decision makers and even individuals, don't realize that we need to ensure that inequality needs to be pressed down to zero for us to meaningfully grow. Because it doesn't matter how fast and how significant a country progress, but if it's only enjoyed by, the top 10% of the population, it won't be sustainable. So when it comes to sustainable development goals, I think the big part of it is about environmental sustainability, but another big part is about inclusion, and it's about reducing inequality. And I think it matters for us to realize that, and to, as we also design a program, I'm telling this because, a lot of us here are probably young leaders, and probably we do, like, each of us already have like something running on the ground, and really think about how we design that program. Have we tried to be inclusive in that, and have we tried to include as many diverse backgrounds as possible for us in the policy? Am I also breaking?
Sorry. You can have one last minute then. Yeah.
Right, sure. Yeah, so as young leaders, I think we need to take that into consideration as we design our program, because sometimes even as we don't actually do that. So only by becoming an example, I think we can also tell the leaders and other communities to also do the same. I think the best way to influence others is to also walk the talk yourself. But I understand that in your case in Sierra Leone, probably the context is much more complex and much more intricate. But I think like big changes can also start from that small moment that you create with your own community that is also like under your direct control.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Biondi. So I do believe that you still have a lot of questions, and it's always interesting to really discuss with all of this together to unite and make our world or community a better place. So I hope that you can keep in touch with our speaker later and drop the questions later. For up now, I would like to welcome you to the next session, which is our second presentation of today's session by our second speaker from Indonesia as well. So thank you so much, Biondi. Thank you so much. So Aldi, who is also our speaker for today, he is on the outstanding statistician East Kalimantan, and also a co-founder of YSEALI. Aldi is a statistician and budgeting analyst at Statistician Indonesia. He holds a bachelor's degree in Statistics of Economics from the Institute of Statistics. Through Statistician Indonesia, he advocates the use by showing the importance and beneficial role of data as the basis of the government's decision in the policy. As a reward of his achievements, he was honored to be the outstanding statistician of East Kalimantan, Indonesia in 2022. Knowing the best politician of his country, potential, of his country, he also involved himself in the tourism sector. He was honored and chosen as the tourism ambassador of East Kalimantan in 2021. Despite working for the government, Aldi has actively participated in national and international seminars and conferences, such as the Asia Youth Speak Up Forum, REDES International Conversation of Student Leadership, and Y20 Indonesia. He is now also a co-founder and our head a program of the ASEAN Youth Sustainability Community named Young Southeast Asia, or YSEALI. With YSEALI, he won the Young Change Makers Challenge, which was held by Youth Empowerment Participation, YEP, Innova Estria, and Hoka. I'd like to remind everyone to take a note and prepare your question for our next Q&A sessions. So without further ado, Aldi, the time is yours. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mel, for the introduction. Hello, everyone. Again, my name is Aldi. So at this moment, I'd like to, I'm part of the committee here. So I would like to explain about the challenges that we need to do for this festival. Let me wait. Okay. Okay. Comedy has received a lot of questions, and because of that, so I would like to explain more about the challenges that we will do in the Southeast Asia Sustainable Festival 2022. Okay. So in this festival, we will have 4 sessions, and for the each sessions, we will have the 2 speakers and 1 moderator. And then later, each speaker will explain about their organization innovation related to the session theme, and then followed later by a question and answer sessions. And after that, the volunteers will enter the 5 breakout rooms. So there are going to be like a lot of people in breakout rooms. In each breakout room, the volunteers can discuss and brainstorm to determine what concrete action the volunteers can take, and starting from the small things to be able to contribute to the related SDGs. And then 15 minutes later, the volunteer representative from each breakout room can share the results of their discussion to inspire other volunteers to do the challenge next week. So the evidence of the action is in the form of a reel or video that can be shared on the volunteers' public Instagram, the link of which is also filled in on the SEASF volunteer leaderboard. And the end of the festival, the Southeast Asia Sustainability Festival, the 12 most outstanding volunteers will be selected to get an award in the form of a certificate and a total grant up to $300. Okay. So again, I would like to remind you that we will have 4 seasons for this festival. The first one is the thriving societies, and second one, the prosperous economy, third one, healthy environment, and the last one, partnership for the goals. So who can join as CSF volunteers? First one is young people around the world, of course, and for the age is 15 until 35 years old. And then they are able to communicate in English. They are active in social media presence, especially public Instagram account. And then they have the desire to contribute to the SDGs efforts and willing to fully commit to contributing as a CSF volunteer starting from November 12th to December 3rd, 2022. And this is a very interesting fact about this festival. So we have already 794 registered volunteers from 55 countries. So thank you so much for you all already registered as the volunteers for this festival. And all the registered volunteers are eligible to receive international certificate for volunteerism upon challenge completion. So please kindly, again, check your name on this link below, if you already registered or not. And then this is the benefit to be the CSF volunteer. The first one, as I said earlier, that you guys will receive an international certificate for volunteerism but you need to do the challenges. The first one about the attending CSF class session and also complete all the CSF challenges. The second one, you guys will have a network with young people from various countries. You'll have the opportunity to meet and network with other CSF volunteers from around the world. And then you guys can also have the possibility or chance to win total grants up to $300. The best volunteers for each challenge and overall challenges will receive total grants up to $300. The fourth, you will have the knowledge or gain the knowledge about the current SDGs challenges. And last but not least, you will have the experience on international volunteerism. By taking part in CSF, you will experience how to contribute to the SDGs in a fun and easy way, of course, and with a direct impact on society. So here are the challenges that you guys need to do throughout the festival. The first challenge is about the registration. So during the registration, you guys need to complete some challenges as follows below. First, please find the CSF Tweebon and Instagram caption on that link, and then upload your Tweebon on your Instagram account. And don't forget to follow and tag US Embassy PH, YSEALI_official, Cultural Vistas, and Young Southeast Asia. And don't forget also to put the hashtag we are CSF Civic Ad for Good Cause and SDGs. And for this action or this challenge, you will receive 40 points. The second one, please find the CSF poster and WhatsApp announcement text on that link, and then share the poster and WhatsApp announcement text to 3 WhatsApp group. And for this action, we will receive 60 points. So for the registration challenges, you will receive total points in 100 points. Okay, for the class attendance challenges, please kindly join the CSF WhatsApp group. We have 2 groups and they are in one community. So everyone can join the CSF WhatsApp group. All announcements related to the CSF program will be shared on the WhatsApp group. The volunteer must attend all CSF class sessions, which are there are 4 class sessions from November 12th to December 3rd, 2022. And for further information about CSF class sessions will be shared on CSF WhatsApp group. For each attendance for each session, you will receive 100 points. Okay, the third challenge is about volunteer actions. So you guys here need to do something to in this festival. First, you need to create one Instagram reel or video revolving around the topic of each CSF theme. So you guys need to make at least 1 or in total 3 reel or videos. The first video is about thriving societies. The second video about prosperous economy, and the third video is about healthy environment. For the judgment or to choose the best of the video, we will value that from the creativity, originality, the relevance, and impact and presentation. And don't forget, upload your contents periodically on your public Instagram account. And don't forget again to tag US Embassy PH, YSEALI_official, Cultural Vistas, and Young Southeast Asia. And also don't forget to fill out the CSF volunteer leaderboard sheet periodically during the CSF timeline. For the link, it's already on WhatsApp group. Each volunteer will receive 100 points for each Ellen action. Okay, for the third one, on December 3rd, 2022, we will conduct Courtesy for the Goals class session and also awarding and closing ceremony for the CSF to celebrate all volunteers that take part in and complete the CSF journey. So on that day, we'll also announce the top 12 most outstanding volunteers during the awarding session. So this is the thing that you need to remember. The volunteer must earn at least 75 points total on average score from all the challenges, so you can claim the international certificate from volunteers from SEASF. So not all the volunteers can receive, only that at least gain 55 points who will receive the international certificate. And for the 12 most outstanding volunteers, they will receive total grants up to $300. So probably you guys kind of wondering what does that mean? What it's the 75 points average score explanation. So I would like to do a brief explanation about it. So you guys already checked the link that we shared on the WhatsApp group, and you can check this overall challenges board. For example, I will take the example for number 0 here. So to receive a certificate, at least you guys need to collect at least 600 points. Either it's from the SEASF Tribon or attendance on opening session, thriving societies, or purpose economy or health environment. Also, or from the challenges on the first challenge, second challenge, or the third challenge. So you guys need at least attending 4 sessions, and also at least join 1 challenge. So after that, you are eligible to earn the certificate. The conclusion here again, the volunteer will only receive a certificate if collect at least 600 points or 75 points in average. The 12 most outstanding volunteers will be chosen based on their performance for each challenges and will be announced on December 3rd. And the committee's decision cannot be contested. So this is the timeline for our festival. Today we are conducting the opening session here, and yeah, it's November 12th. And then tomorrow we will have the first class. It's about thriving societies. And after the first class, we will have the first challenge, which will be conducted starting from November 13th to November 18th, 2022. And then next week, we will have another class session. It's about prosperous economy. And after that, we will have another challenge started from November 19 to November 25. And then next week, we'll have another class session, which is about healthy environment, and continue with the challenges, the third challenges. And next week again, on December 3rd, we will have another class session. It's about partnership for the goals. And also we'll have awarding and closing ceremony. Yeah, I think that's it from me for the explanation of the SEASF Festival. Yeah, thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Aldi. It is my microphone that needs some time here.
That's okay.
So thank you for this one here. They do have the question, which is about first of all, it's the attendance for today. Do we also check attendance for today?
Yeah, there is also the link of the attendance today. I think the committee is already, okay. The committee will share the link later. Oh yeah, someone is already shared the link. You guys can fill the form there, and we will count your score for the attendance for today.
That's right. Don't lose the score. Anyways, the next question is about the WhatsApp. Some of our participants here, they mentioned that they are not already in the group or in the WhatsApp group. So how can they have access to it, or will you add, or what?
So the WhatsApp is actually okay, fine. Everyone can join the WhatsApp group. Probably the reason why you guys cannot join the WhatsApp group is because your WhatsApp is not upgraded yet. So we have 2 groups, and we united into one community. Like it's a new facility. New thing on WhatsApp. So I think you guys need to check your WhatsApp now, and please upgrade to the last version of the WhatsApp. and you can rejoin by the link.
Okay, good. Update. All right. If you do have any other question, you can raise your hand and I will leave the floor to you so you can talk directly to Aldi. Any last question? Okay. Seems everything's fine then. I just joined. Is there anything you would like to add on here? Okay, there's a question from Amina. Okay.
Sure, go ahead.
Amina.
Hello, it's
Hello.
afternoon over
Hello.
here.
Hi.
Thank you so much for the presentation. I have a question. Looking at the sheet they sent about the leadership boards to know if your name is in the list. We saw I saw some column that they were saying they won the game, and then there is a portion that is asking, will you get certificates? It was only one person they said yes. The rest of us, to the last number, it was no, and I didn't understand that. Please kindly specify that for me. And
Okay.
then my second question is that about the challenge. Reading the booklets for this ceremony, it says that the top 12 people will be getting the award. Like, how is it going to be? Is that going to come out from the group session we are going to have? Or is it those people that will represent the group, the session we are going to have, that will be qualifying? Or like, tell me about the 12 people that will be getting the award.
Okay.
I hope my question is clear. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Amina. So for the first question, why is it like the only person who got this is just 1%? No, it's not like that. It's just like because it's not started yet. So the first score that you guys receive just started from the Tweebond link. So it will continue. We will, I mean, as the committee, we will continue scoring your scores during the festival. So it's going to be the attendance for the next meeting and then the challenges and later. So the full scores you will receive at the end of the third session. I mean, the session and the third challenge. So that's the final score that you will receive. For now, everyone still receive like 100 score for the Tweebond only. And for the second question, so there will be 2 certificates. The first one is certificate for the volunteerism. You will receive that again if you gain at least 600 points or 75 on average. And the second one, you will receive an award as in the form of a certificate if you guys are selected to be one of the best volunteers, or what is it, the most outstanding volunteers here. So I think that answer your question.
Thank you. So there are a few more questions right there. I'm gonna take just maybe 2 or 3 more. So I'll give the floor to Kingsley. Yeah, go ahead, Kingsley.
Hi, good afternoon from here, Nigeria. So basically, I wanted to ask, I can't really find my name on the leaderboard, even though I've met all requirements. I've sent in everything that needs to be sent. I don't know if the team is still updating because I'm trying to register for the attendance now, and I'm being asked to input my number, which I can't find my name on the leaderboard to get my number from. So I don't know if it's something we are still working on.
Okay. Okay. For that question, if I may, when was you registered as the volunteer? Probably we can check it like directly now.
So 3 days ago.
2 days ago, with name Kingsley and Ahanunu?
Yes, please. Okay,
let me check it first. So Kingsley Ahonano is already on the list. You have the number of 301. Yeah, we already write your name there. So you are one of the volunteers here, registered volunteers. Okay.
Thank you. So if you do have the same question, make sure that you lower your hand. So I won't. I only take one more question. Ghana. Sorry, Sandra from Ghana. I'm a little bit. I'm sorry. Okay. So yeah, please unmute yourself.
I do have a question.
Oh, told you. Give me a second. So Sandra, you can have the floor, please.
I wanted to ask about the Instagram pages. Some of us, we don't have the Instagram page, but we have LinkedIn page. Most of us posted our photos there, LinkedIn. So we've updated the link so far with our LinkedIn account. So I want to ask if that one too is allowed, or still we have to post it on Instagram. Thank you very much.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay.
Aldi, do you get that? Yeah.
Okay. If I'm not mistaken from hearing the question, it's a bit actually. Okay. So are you asking about the link on Instagram that you need to fill on the form? Is that the question? So if that's the question, yes. So every time you guys post something on Instagram, which either is to be born or challenges later, it's the video or the reel, you need to fill out the link on the form by yourself. So it's gonna be individuals empowerment. So the committee will just scoring your what is it, your participations based on that link.
Good. Okay. Great. So yes, make sure that you share the story, right? Share the post on your story, you know, with your fellows. Anyway, so I think I would like to almost like end the session now. Aldi, thank you so much for your time. Aldi, if you have any like can you give us the email address? I think, or maybe the participant know about the email. If they have any question, they can reach out to.
Oh,
do you think
okay.
give us the contact? Yeah.
So every question we provide again the link, the leadership board leaderboard link. There are the sheet of the question and answer. All the question and answer you can ask there, and the committee will answer as soon as possible.
That's right. Okay, cool. So leaderboard link. Thank you so much. Back to Annisa. Annisa. Thank you so much for your time, and everyone as well for joining us. So Annisa,
Yeah,
you can have
okay.
the floor. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ms. Bell, who has led the main session for tonight's event, and also the keynote speakers who have delivered their presentations earlier. And we'd like to remind all volunteers to fill out the attendance list form to receive your 100 points. And for all participants in this session, we will be delighted if you may follow our Instagram account at Young Southeast Asia. And now, before we close tonight's event, we would like to take a group photo. So please turn on your camera for this very moment. And technical committee will take some screenshots in several times as we have hundreds of participants here. And now let me count down for you. Okay, everyone's ready? Okay, now 1, 2, 3. Okay, one more time. 1, 2, 3. Okay. Okay, thank you very much, everyone, for tonight's attendance. Distinguished speakers, moderator, volunteers, and promoters, on behalf of the committee, I would like to thank everyone for taking some time to join us this evening. We hope that we learn great insight tonight and share them to great heights. And let us create a better place with no one left behind. I'm Annisa Ananda and all committee signing off. Thank you and have a good night.
Thank you so much, everyone.
Thank you, everyone.